by one, everyone is getting in.
Yes, sir, correct. So session is also live on YouTube.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Fantastic. So this is probably this year's last AMA session. It was a Christmas special.
Exactly, sir. So session start panilam, sir.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So good evening all. TiE Chennai presents TiE Learn A to Z of Bakery. Today's session will be Ask Me Anything on Bakery. That is Christmas special. Today we have our great chef, Mr. Balamurugan, and he is with us. It is with TiE Chennai for a very long period, starting from this initiative, and is supporting a lot for us to bring up this initiative into a very big one. And thank you so much, sir. So we wish to make these sessions into a great one and help people, help small chefs or the bakery owners to get more knowledge and share their knowledge also to bring up success into this bakery field. So today our speaker, Chef Balamurugan, is with us. He's a member of South Indian Chef Association and the Society of Indian Bakery and the Indian Federation Association of Culinary, World Association of Chef Societies, assistant professor at Dr. MGR University, and we can tell more about him. He started as a bartender and now he's a culinary Kalinax, his own brand, and he has one more brand called Bread. It's his company, and he's a very big consultant in many sectors. Like into bakery, he's like his knowledge is very vast, and he wished to share it to all the people who are very interested in bakery field. So today our session will be named as Ask Me Anything. Ask Me Anything on bakery. So any doubts? We wish all the participants to unmute yourself and ask your questions to our speaker, Mr. Bala, and he will be sharing his knowledge to you all. And I hope this session will bring more success, and we will continue this initiative into a big one and bring success to TiE Chennai. Thank you, sir. Thanks once again for accepting our invite. So now we can start the sessions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vishwa. So, good evening, everyone. On behalf of TiE Chennai, TiE Learn A to Z of Bakery, I'm here this evening. First of all, how many of you are comfortable with English, Tamil? Because these two languages is what I prefer to mix and match and speak today. And is everyone completely comfortable with English? I can go ahead in English, or if somebody is in need of Tamil, I can mix and speak. Just put a word, just mention as Tamil so that I can mix and speak, or I can straight away go ahead in English. How do you feel, Mr. Vishwa? Is there a multicultural? Yeah, Mr. Vishnu is here. Would like to? Okay. Okay, cool. Okay. So let me have a blend of both.
That would be the best.
Yeah, fine. Okay, cool. So me started as a baker. For me, Christmas is always special. Wherever the city, wherever the bakery I am, we are very serious about Christmas and this New Year season, because this is said to be the best season for even the food industry, especially for bakery and confectionery business. This is the season where a lot of gifts and bakery goodies are exchanged. At the end, all the bakery business owners get benefited, and all the people are happy during the season. So you can stop me anytime, or put a word in the chat box. You can raise a question. So let's keep it interacted, or I keep on talking to you in whatever fashion that suits the best. So, Christmas, we have to start definitely with the plum cake. In India or in around the world, they always have this cake mixing or the fruit mixing ceremony much before Christmas. So this is very important and very crucial, because that will show that that particular bakery is getting ready for Christmas, and they also uh, show around their variety of dry fruits being soaked in different types of liquors, rums, brandy, or all alcohol, so that it is getting macerated over a period of time, so that their plum cake is going to taste the best. And normally, it is also wiser to invite localites, the people around the bakery, around the town, around the city, and do a kind of a propaganda, so that people get distracted and attracted at the same time. So that is something very important, so that they can seriously target their plum cake sale. Obviously, we will be giving offers, different types of promos, different types of posters being posted in their bakery and online digital formats and things like that. But still, this is a tradition people normally do, where variety, when it's actually a huge volume of dry cakes, I mean dry fruits being chopped and blended with a team of people, children's, or a community of people, and then these alcohols are poured in and mixed thoroughly, so that they take that to maceration in small batches of vats, so that that dry fruit get well matured to make the plum cake. That is very important, so that that is creating a hype in the city, as well as that shows something very nice is going to happen in their bakery. So that is one thing, and everybody has different varieties of plum cake recipes that you can do by yourself, and you can give it in assortment of packing from small 10 rupees to 20 rupees to maybe per kg 500 or 1000, depending on your variety of ingredient that you use and the percentage of dry fruits and nuts you use. You can price your bakery plum cake or plum pudding, for instance. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. That is one a key products for the season. It means the plum cake will also be sold over a period of time until the New Year and the first week. And that is a season where this exchange of gifts and big goodies happens. In a country like India, it's though we are not very serious into that tradition, the Christian community are very serious into that tradition. At the same time, we being brothers to them, and we normally get the cakes, or we buy the cake and give to them and things like that. So that is about the plum cake, and many bakeries have also raised a beautiful habit of creating baked goodies hampers. This hamper will include a lot of stuffs that is also advisable. Each and every year, these hampers are getting novel and trendy with the different types of baked goodies that also attracts the public and the crowd to buy it. It starts from a small hamper to a large hamper, and depends on the price and cost factors. They include a variety of stuffs. Some of the stuffs which I would like to suggest for your Christmas hamper, especially with baked goodies, is not just the products that is made in your bakery. You can also blend in some modern trade goods, and also some kind of products from different FMCG products. And the blend irundha nalla irukum actually. Ready-made products plus your products, this both blended together is more advisable, because that makes it more colorful. Because by default, when we take the natural baked products, mostly it will be in mild brown and beige. Obviously the color coated in terms of sugar and things like that are different, but bakery product as such is brown. So in order to induce some more attraction, you can get some colorful modern trade products and packeted other maybe nuts, dry fruit, this and that, and things like that. I can give you some example. If you want to talk about your own product, you can definitely make some wonderful almond rocks, other kind of pistachio, cashew nut rocks, and things like that. You can create rice clusters, rice crispy clusters with some white chocolate or dark chocolate, and you can wrap it around with different colorful leaves of gold or shiny blue or whatever color you feel like. Then comes your variety of small colored macarons that can also add value to your hamper. An assorted colored macaron, I mean the French macaron which I meant. Nama Thuthukudi macaron is little different. It is mostly in white, and it's a combination of macaron and meringue. What I'm talking about is the French macaron, the sandwiched French macaron with different filling in it. And you can add an assorted cookies, different types of cookies, and even you can add gingerbread, different types of shaped cookies with some artistic work done on that kind of a Christmas tree or reindeer or Santa Claus or socks or something like that, whatever that is more pertain to the Christmas festivity. Those kind of colorful cookies can also be added. And you can also add some other modern trade foods or FMCG things like even coffee, different types of tea in tins, in bottles, and you can add some jams and jellies or peanut butter in jars and things like that. And your products, you can talk about Christmas stollen, rich, very rich Christmas stollen. Christmas stollen is a kind of a very interesting bread made out of a lot of dry fruits and nuts, and then it is glazed with nice butter and sugar and things like that. That's a wonderful product that can be used as one of the Christmas goodie. And you can use panettone bread that is also rich in dry fruits. And you can add different varieties of chocolate fudges, truffles, or sugar coated cookies, and different varieties of stuffs like that. All these things can go into a basket, a large basket or small basket, and you can wrap it around with your own fashionable decoratives, and you can sell it as hampers. But when it comes to Christmas, it is always better that you create this hype much before the season starts. Preferably somewhere in the mid or later November, you need to start creating or giving the public some ideas that you are giving these new Christmas goodies. In a country like India, there are different towns where sometimes Christmas is a happening festival season, or some places Christmas doesn't happen much. It depends, bakery owners speak so, say so, like that. But it is also up to the bakery owners that you create this tradition of different types of seasonal festivities, different types of goodies that you can create for the season, especially for the December and through the first week of January, so that you can increase your sales. So whenever you want to create this seasonal goodies, you also make a public announcement or a kind of a propaganda, or the advertisement in terms of kind of creating a posters within your bakery, saying that these kind of stuffs are going to be present for this season of December and late December through January and things like that. You can give yourself a nice offers for the guest and things like that. You can create a poster both physically as well as digital content. These days, Instagram, Facebook, you need to create a lot of hype. That is very important. Offers can be anything. It need not be dedicated to the specific Christmas goodies, especially for New Year, you can create a culture of cutting cakes and things like that. And you can also give offers of 50% off, 10%, 20% off, or you buy one, you get one, or you buy 1 kg, you get half kg, or you buy a cake, you get some cupcakes free, this and that. That's all up to you. That's all totally up to you. But it's a tradition that you attract people for a better sales during this Christmas and New Year. And it is also up to the bakery owners to teach the crowd or to teach the town that this season can be celebrated this way. Because in Tamil Nadu, in many places, I hear that here Christmas tradition, we don't have a bigger sale on Christmas Day or through the New Year. It is going to be just another time of the year and things like that. But it is also up to them to create this hype, create offers, and give a lot of hype to their own brand and push the product. So say for example, Christmas and New Year's sale adds a great value to your consolidated year-long sale. So you take this seriously and you do a better plan for the Christmas and New Year. Say for example, it's okay, immaterial, under what circumstance you try to decorate, you keep yourself a lot of decoratives, especially for this season, so that you keep that every December through January, and then you pack it up and use it for the next year. Once you buy it, probably you can use it for a few years or a couple of years, so that you keep your bakery occupied. When people get in, immaterial what culture and religion they get distracted and attracted towards the decorations that you do. You keep yourself some kind of festive LED lights being lit up beyond, outside your stores, and you hang around a lot of Christmas decoratives inside your store, so that even the kids get attracted and people get distracted, and somehow you allure them with a proper cost, and you give them a proper product. That is also very important. And next, you can also reach to communities gathering, or church or schools related to your new goodies or season specialities, and you can create a kind of a notice or a digital media and contents, so that you can do a kind of a propaganda. If anybody is interested in some questions related to this session, or in the middle, you can please raise your hand, or kindly post a question in the chat box, so that I can answer it then and then, because it has to be ask me anything. It's like not telling you everything. So then, and sometimes you always give a set of products throughout the year in your bakery. At least for this Christmas or from this time onwards, try to keep small tidbits of all the samples of new products that you are launching this season, or you want to push that product in particular. Give it as a trial for tasting to everyone who enters your store. Or if you're having your regular client profile, you can even give a small bit of that as a complimentary much before your season begins. More like November, you can do something like that. But it's already time this year. Maybe you can follow these steps during your next year, but still you can give samples of your product. Say for example, you're launching some new type of biscotti, so you can give a sample of that to whoever is entering into the store, and if they are interested, they might buy that in a bigger volume. Or you can keep an array of samples of all the product that goes into a large gift hamper, so that they can buy it and take you. Okay, fine. I have a problem. Whole wheat bread problem, or it doesn't usually rise as I want. Please assist. Okay. Mr. Godwin has asked for how to make a whole wheat bread rice. Okay, fine. To be very honest, if at all we use a very natural wheat flour, it will have a lot of fine husk ground to it, or fine external endosperm of the wheat anatomy that is being ground into the flour, which is not always smooth like refined flour or the bread flour. It is the outer part of the whole wheat, so that will have a lot of other particles apart from the refined flour. So basically what will happen is that normally pokes the gluten structure, and it doesn't allow the gluten structure to work properly. So the best case scenario, I would seriously suggest, there is one more way. You cannot properly call whole wheat bread if you want the bread to be very big, and it has to be more structurally similar to a regular loaf of bread. You can make a smaller breads that is partly raised if you're going for very natural process. Unlike you use a different specialty wheat flour, where all these requirement are fulfilled by the flour manufacturer, telling that it is fit for bread making. That is one way. If you're dedicatedly purchasing some whole wheat flour fit for bread making, probably definitely they would have added a lot of additives that will support the gluten formation and air trapping, and the yeast will obviously sustain more comfortably, trapping bubbles of pores into the bread, and your bread comes out very well. But definitely if you are using a very natural whole wheat flour, we will not be able to get a complete, a perfect loaf of bread if you're using it 100% as such, because unless or otherwise the particle has to be super fine whole wheat flour. If you are able to get a super fine whole wheat flour, it will support a lot in the process of bread making, because there won't be any fine outer endosperm that is in a different sharp particle, so that your whole wheat bread gets raised up much better. That is one way to think about. But if your wheat flour is very normal or a medium quality, or something that is available in the market, not fit for making the bread, probably that will be a little bit of challenge, because above certain elements it will be very tough. Okay, fine. The next step is to add extra gluten to support the gluten structure a little bit more. But still, to be very honest, if you are taking the whole wheat and grinding it to a super fine flour, probably that will help. But if the flour is of normal quality, which is not a bread making whole wheat flour, then raising the bread would be a problem. So you have to obviously buy the best quality of wheat flour. That will definitely support, and definitely the time for resting, time for knockback, the moisture content all plays a very vital role. The dough cannot be as soft as a regular refined bread dough. It has to be a little bit more harder than the regular refined refined flour bread dough, so that it also adds a little bit more strength to it. No matter what, but I normally suggest open type bread is more preferred when you go to a whole wheat bread flour, so that it doesn't matter, you don't have to get a proper square shape or something like that. Otherwise, some people do sometimes the bread might be little heavy if you are expecting a perfect square loaf, which will also be of little more higher density, because the pores in a refined flour can be little sparingly away, and the air trapping is more comfortable. When the yeast eats the sugar and gives out the CO2, the gluten formation is fantastic in a regular refined flour, or we call it a maida flour bread, because it is purely refined flour. There is no external endosperm of the wheat that is present in this pure refined wheat flour that is there. But when the endosperm is present, definitely that has a different cellular structure and different particle shapes and sizes that normally pokes the gluten formation, and that normally pops open the bubbles of gluten, and naturally the rising process will be, declined when it comes to that. And you have to use industrial grade whole wheat flour. You have to buy in bulk, and it has to be super fine. And though it is not refined, it has to be super fine whole wheat flour. In many places, people call it brown bread because it is not a whole wheat bread, because they add color to it, and they also use the bread flour or the refined wheat flour, so that it adds a little more strength to it. And giving a good resting time for the dough adds more value. Use lesser yeast, longer proving techniques adds more value. These kind of and obviously bread improver that can be added to the whole wheat flour, that adds a little bit of more support for the yeast to sustain. There are other elements like this, which also adds value to the wheat flour to create a better bread. Definitely, we cannot compare a refined flour bread structure to a whole wheat bread structure, because they have a different biology as an ingredient. That is what I would say. Okay, is it?
Chef,
Is
I
it?
just wanted to ask,
Yeah,
can
please.
we do a combination of maida and wheat? Is there a combination which we can do wherein the wheat can be like more and
Mhm.
maida can be less? And
Yes.
will that result in a good wheat bread?
Yes, of course, definitely. That is a more of a common practice. Many places they do. They blend a proportion of refined wheat flour with the whole wheat flour, because obviously the refined wheat flour creates a better gluten structure than the regular wheat flour. So when there's a blend, obviously the strength of the dough is higher. So when the yeast is breathing, the byproduct of CO2 is trapped, and we get a better structure. Obviously, the dough, the shape of the bread, the way it is being, baked, we obviously get a better structure of bread. We can definitely blend. We can also make a separate dough, wheat and maida. We can make a different separate dough, and we can have a marbled bread, for instance, or we can also have a blended dough bread. It will add more supportive structural value to the bread. Definitely, yes, yes.
Is there a ratio which we should maintain when we are mixing two flours? Is there a ratio, a
Uh,
standardized ratio, or
there cannot be a standardized ratio, because the flour to flour, uh, totally the brand to brand strength of the gluten and the proportion of ingredient is different. So we can easily start with 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30 or 80-20. It also depends on the strength of the high gluten flour that you're using, and it also depends on the particle fineness of the wheat flour that you're using. If your wheat flour is super fine, your proportion of maida or the refined flour can be very less comparatively. But when your whole wheat flour is not that super fine, we still have micro granules of super sticky like substance from the endosperm of the wheat. We obviously need to add a more proportion of maida or the refined flour to the dough to make it a better bread. You can do a small R&D in batches every time. This definitely have to be tailored from brand to brand. A different brand of wheat flour and different brand of refined flour has a different strength, and so obviously every bakery has to do a small R&D of proportions. But we can generally work on 70-30 or 60-40 or 80-20 or 90-10, a little bit of keeping that refined flour proportion on a much lower scale as possible, so that we can at least give more nutrient value to the bread.
thank you, chef. Is there any brand that you would suggest? I mean, because it's very close to Christmas, and if we want to buy some
Yeah,
wheat,
brand as such in this forum I cannot suggest. We can text personally. I can give you a text of the
Thank you,
because
Chef.
public forum takes you personally.
Sure.
And
Thank
yes, and another thing, open loaves of bread. Like say, we don't, if the bread doesn't have to go into a tin, or it doesn't need to have a proper square slicing format. If it is going to be open sub loaf or a open type loaf, or more of a hot pressed loaves and things like that, we can try variety of other breads without adding the fat. We can definitely try different types of breads that is different. All I said was about the square typical loaf of bread. That is what is difficult to attain when it comes to a whole wheat flour. Otherwise, you can use a semi-spherical or a submarine type or a small rolls. Those kind of whole wheat bread can be attained to an extent that is more combined. Okay, fine. Okay, anything else? You can then you can ask for it. I'll go on with the Christmas goodies and things like that. Okay. And yes, okay. And even a small events can be organized during the Christmas season. The event could be anything. Say, for example, bake your own cupcake or some small event for the kids, along with a kind of a decoration classes or something like that. So when you create an interaction, when you create a rapport between the public and your bakery or your brand, naturally people develop a kind of attachment to your brand. That is what is important for any bakery brands. So when people are in your local town or in your place, in and around your place, get attached to your brand, obviously they get to buy your product, and with a lot of beyond just the product, the goodwill is more important for any bakery, because that is when people get attached to your brand, because there is always a competitor and you have to sustain in your market. It is not always the product that speaks, it is also the bondage that you create in your town. You need to get connected to the grid of people who buy the products, or the community who buy the products, or the age group who buy the product. That is very, very important. So we cannot sit simply inside your bakery and keep making wonderful products, stacking them in the shelf and expect everybody to drop in and buy your product. Probably that happens in a place where there is no much competition, or in a very remote locations of the world where there is hardly one bakery for the whole town. Those kind of places are there, but Anna, it doesn't happen in India, because in every street there is about 5 to 10 competitions that is always present for you. So you have to sustain, and so you create that grid, or you create that bondage that is very, very important. So you create the activity. Maybe you can create an activity with a Santa Claus dressed up person, or you create an activity of cupcake decoration competition for the kids, or you create an activity that invites people, and you have to do a propaganda for it. You cannot overnight think something and say morning or day after you need to just propose a kind of a activity that you want to obtain a lot of crowd pulling thing. So you have to create a hype much before. Let's say you start much before, maybe at least now it is not too late. This season is there. So first week of January, if you're planning some activity, you can start doing the propaganda somewhere in the mid December, stating that New Year special, this competition for the kids, or that competition for the mother and kid, or whatever you feel like doing. So that really is the best way to attract. You create a table, or you create a corner in your bakery, or you can even go to a different location. You can create a kind of outdoor activity with your brand banner in it. It doesn't matter that you have your own bakery. You can also be a home baker who can create a kind of a brand bakery and brand poster, and you can go to some other place and you can create the hype. Or you create a cart, or you sell in the Sunday market, or you go to a school, or you go to a public gathering location. It could be a church, or it could be anything, anywhere. So all the way I'm trying to say is, like, you get connected with the public, or you create a kind of a hype, or you create an activity where people come and taste your product, so that your presence is being noted in the whole competitive world. That is what I'm trying to say. And anything else related to Christmas and things like that? Anybody having any kind of it doesn't necessarily be Christmas related question. It can be anything related to your product or
Chef, I had mentioned the question earlier.
yes, please.
We all go by the mostly out of India menus, right, or recipes.
Mhm.
What are some of Indian authentic bakery items which we can concentrate upon? Like
Yes,
authentic
yes.
Indian bakery items.
Yes. Actually, Indian breads, when it comes to Indian breads, it's mostly flat breads that we are talking about. There are some interesting products which we can infuse or impart a flavor, Indian flavor into the product, and we can create a fusion that can also be done. I'll come to Mr. Godwin's question next. So basically, products like Shirmal. Shirmal is a wonderful, very rich Indian bread that is being kind of influenced from the Mughals invasion into India. Shirmal is a rich bread with a lot of ghee, a lot of milk, a lot of saffron, and that's a wonderful flat bread. Either it can be baked directly into a baking oven or it can be baked in a tandoor. Then there is this naan katai. Naan katai is a very interesting small ghee-based cookies flavored with elaichi. Or you can induce this kesar flavor into anything, or a rasamalai flavor into a cake, or you can induce a rose milk flavor into a cake, or you can induce a fusion, a cheesecake flavored with mango cardamom, or a cheesecake flavored with some kind of a tandai or things like that. And that's Indian flavors are more oriented towards sweets, where elachi, saffron, pistachio, and a lot of nuts and dry fruit. These are all the basic Indian flavor which used into the Indian sweets. We can convert those products into bakery. The fusion is totally up to you. Say, for example, you make a nice bread dough. You make a nice bread dough, and the bread dough is completely done. And before proving, you can sprinkle inside some laddu, broken laddu into it, and you can make that bread into a big mass or a small dough, and let it proof. And when you bake it and take it, and when you bite it, while we have created a fusion here right now, right away. So it's totally up to your knowledge to impart into the product. And definitely when it comes to, I don't have to say anything about chocolate to you, because you are already the master in it, and you've already created a lot of flavor in it. So that is something like that. And coming to Mr. Godwin's questions, when offloading bread inside a closed tin of the oven without opening the cover of the bread immediately, I noticed the bread shrinking. Please, this is a technical explanation. Yes, Mr. Godwin has asked a question. The bread shrinks when the bread is being taken out from the oven. This, we call it a fault. The common term we use, if there is any fault in the bread, we just call it a fault. And this fault could be anything. Say, for example, if it is having a sunken center, there is variety of reasons. Say, for example, the bread is taken out from the oven too fast. This is one reason. If the center is not cooked, obviously the bread is not left to bake for the right time, so it is taken out. That is fault reason number one. The oven is too hot and the bread is baked for a short time. That could create the same thing. Or the oven is too cool. It means, say, for example, if the depending on the size of the loaf, if it has to be 180 or 190 or 170 or 180, it has to be in the optimum temperature so that the heat penetration is good. And it also depends on the oven. Say, for example, if it is a blower oven, normally the best oven for the bread is the rotary oven. Obviously, it's okay to have a small oven, deck ovens, and things like that. Why I'm talking about the rotary oven is that the mold rotates at the same time. The air penetration is even, and the heat disbursement is even all along the tin. The heat is uniform all over the tin of the bread mold. So it is fantastically baking. It's okay to have a deck oven where the lower temperature and the higher temperature has to be moderated in such a way, and it has to be baked to an optimum time, let's say 35 minutes or 40 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on the size of the bread mold. And one more thing, if your dough is too loose, in the sense, if every dough needs a certain amount of water, if the dough is too loose, then the bread being too high, I mean, if it is raised high after proofing and if it is kept inside the oven and taken out, probably it needs a lot more strength for the gluten to stand. This could be one reason. And the reason could be another, there's another reason I would tell you. Even if the flour strength of the gluten in the flour, in the dough is lesser, that could also be one reason. And say, for example, if you are proving the trays of bread in a trolley, and if you're moving the trolley, if there is a shake in the trolley, that could also be a reason. And if there is a shake out from the oven, okay, it's okay, you put the bread tin in one place, and you at least release the top lid of the bread so that the steam vents out. And if it is when little bit cool for some time, you have to invert the bread so that it doesn't sweat all around. That is there. Yeah. So how to promote home bakery business? Fantastic. Okay. Home bakers, there's a lot of home bakers here. So home bakers, okay, fantastic. So you all home bakers have to think globally but act locally. So you have to think yourself like a proper bakery. At the same time, you can impart the strategies like home bakery. That is totally fine. But at least you should have your own standard in terms of product. You should be super perfect, like I know you should be. And then when it comes to promotions, the best way and the obviously most comfortable way, you cannot do a direct promotion because you're not present in the eyes of the guest where on the street, or probably you're not visually straight in touch. So obviously the best and the only way is to reach each and every clients that whom you think are the target. The best way to reach is only two-way possible, that is direct contact and indirect contact. Direct contact is through a medium. Let's say you're creating a propaganda in terms of marketing scale content like notice or menus or brochures or pamphlets. You go to some forum, you distribute, or you go to, you call a newspaper guy to promote, or you put in your pamphlet, you do that thing. These are all the very basic things that you do. Then you should have a definitely very strong digital presence. That is very, very important, because I am seeing on a day-to-day, and I am following a lot of home bakers in Instagram, because we cannot, or I cannot, I don't do underestimate their skills. They've got a fantastic skills, as good as a professional. I in fact, some are even superior as a professional. And their Instagram presence or a Facebook presence or a digital content presence, having their own website, all these things creates a consolidated optimization of their presence in websites, in the online portals and things like that. So that adds a lot of value to their product, because they can showcase their product with photographs. They can give offers, promotions, because that way people really follow your presence in your town, at least in the way, or in the wingspan that you can reach. There will be a kind of a grid that you can reach to the maximum. If it could be 3 kilometer or 5 kilometer or your old town. All you have to do is definitely give a good branding. That is very important. You have to create yourself a lot of branding content when it comes to your stickering or box packing. You should have your dedicated, it could be anything, ribbons or box or bottles or bags, whatever, whatnot that goes into a bakery store. All those contents you should be having. At the same time, you should also have a lot of digital presence with photographs, small Instagram reels and small videos. You can post it through your website or Google or those things. Those presence adds a lot of value. And definitely, you go to different forums. You have to be connected with the different forums It could be anything, home bakers forum, or where your town eats, or whatever the Facebook community, different forums. You can get yourself connected, and you have to constantly do a propaganda and pitch in your videos, pitch in your photographs with your branding. That is very important, so that people get that brand into their mind. They have to by heart your brand before they by heart and taste your product. Of course, your product could be exuberant, but before people taste your product, they definitely need to know that you're present near them, or you're present somewhere in the town, so that they can at least try to reach them. And they try to reach them. When it comes to that, there should be a most convenient way for them to reach to you. It could be simple WhatsApp or phone number or on call, or you can use different types of product delivery modes or bikers, this and that, so that your products can easily reach them. Next comes your price factors and things like that. Even that adds more value to your product. You target your audience profile, and according to them, you price your product, so that you create a kind of a community for yourself and your product and your brand. That is how you promote as a home baker. Okay, fine, cool. That is about that. Anyone else having some interesting questions, so that I can go on?
We have Purnima Gautam's question.
Okay, sorry, I missed it. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Questions.
Okay, how can I keep berries and raisins from sinking to the bottom of the cake and muffins? Oh, it's a fantastic question. I will give you a very 2-3 techniques that you can follow. Okay, your recipe will have some flour. Your recipe of cakes and fruit cakes will have some flour, and the best way is 2 way of doing it. Because I don't know your recipe, there is 2 way of doing it. If your recipe is very delicate recipe, the best way to keep your nuts and dry fruits sinking down is to wash it nicely before adding it to your product, and then dust some more flour to your product, so that this flour is coated all around your nuts and dry fruits, so that when your recipe is done, finally you mix this flour coated nuts and dry fruits to the product, and allow it to bake. So before the sinking of the nuts, the flour around the nuts and the dry fruits will capture the moisture and other ingredients in the cake, and will hang in the cake, doesn't sink down. This is for a very delicate recipe. And when it comes to a mid-level delicate recipe where the batter is quite thick, not so delicate, all you have to do is just include all your dry fruits and nuts with the flour while sifting along with your baking powder and things like that, and then add it to the recipe. That is one way to go about. Another thing, your temperature is also very crucial, and your oven is also very crucial. The oven cannot afford to have serious vibration. Deck oven, a convection oven is good for this kind of cake. And you can also make your recipe a little bit denser. You can reduce the fat a little bit and increase your sugar and flour a little bit higher, so that gives more strength to hold the berries and nuts and raisins in your cake before it sinks down. That can also add more value to the product. That is how you try to, and you can even the dry fruits and nuts, you can cut it into small bits. That can also add more value. That is how you retain the nuts and fruits in the middle of the cake. Yes, my contact detail. Yes, I will post it. If you are in the part of the group, I think you can contact Mr. Vishwa, and maybe I can also ping my number in this so that you can contact me at the end of this session. That is fine. Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? Any interesting questions? Okay, fine. I think everyone, as being a pastry or a chocolatier or a baker and bakery business owners, you must be getting ready for your Christmas. It's a great time with you and in this session. Thanks for dropping by and being present. Anything, you can ping me directly. And this is my number that I have just posted in the group. You can ask my any questions directly to me. That can also be done. And anything else?
So we have one more question directly in the group, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So now you can answer this question for Purnima's Gautams. Then I'll come to that.
Okay, fine. That's cool. It's very simple. Baking powder will have a dry form of acid to it and a carbonate to it. That is what is a baking powder. So when you get the baking powder, all you have to do is take few drops of water and put the baking powder inside, and you see the effervescence of the baking powder. If there is too much of bubbling and fizzing and things like that, it means your baking powder is active. And if it is not that bubbling or that fuzzing, probably it is not active. But it is always wiser, whenever you buy a baking powder as new, you try, and you should also have your standard way of testing it. Take a spoon of water when it is new, you drop the powder and you see the fizz, and you keep that in your memory, so that whenever time goes by, you can try that same strategy, so that when the fizz is not that much, it means your baking powder has gone old. It is better to replace. And moreover, baking powder also activates a lot more better when it goes into the oven, when there is heat and when it is treated properly. And my one more suggestion, whenever to some cakes, whenever you are trying to add baking powder, you can add a little bit of baking soda, that is cooking soda, that is plain sodium bicarbonate. That is one thing that you can add a little bit. And you also add a little bit of acid in different forms, like lemon juice or yogurt or curd or whatever forms, so that that also adds more value to your cake, and that will have a different crumbly nature. This suits very well for cakes with fruits, and especially when you make some nice dark bourbon chocolate cake, when you add this yogurt or a curd to the recipe along with the baking soda, it will alkalize your cake, and your dark chocolate cake will become even more darker. That will add more value to your cake. And whenever you make a dark chocolate cake, you also add definitely some real melted chocolate to it, so that that real melted chocolate along with your cocoa powder, which is alkalized or non-alkalized, you add some yogurt or a curd to it, or lemon juice to it along with baking soda. That will create a kind of a very interesting reaction to it, and that gives a very rich a dark chocolate cake. And that also works very well for banana cake. That gives a rich brown dark, we call it a Maillard's browning reaction, that normally happens for banana and apple and things like that. That will induce Maillard's browning reaction. That will give a very rich and flavorful cakes. That is one hint that I can give you now. Okay, thank you. So that's fantastic. Anything else? Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we got one question in WhatsApp.
Yes.
So what it is like, when the like during Christmas and New Year's, the orders and demand will be on higher side.
Yes.
We get the bakeries get more number of orders.
Yes.
So if we are not able to handle it, or we are rejecting the orders, so how to overcome it? What all can be done to avoid that?
Fantastic. That's a fantastic question. Me working in some restaurants and some bakery and some confectionery, the strategy we normally follow in a place like that. Some places I have seen a number of bakery. Earlier they face this challenge. They will have a lot of orders pouring in. The best way to tackle is you cut down a lot of products which is normally present in your bakery, which is not that fast moving. It means, let's say you have a SKU of about 200 products or 100 products in your bakery or in your display, or 50 products. You cut down somewhere about 25 or 20 products during the season. Especially we start doing that 1 or 2 days before the Christmas, and we finish it, or we keep the same menu till the first week of January with a restricted menu. We will keep only 20 or 30 variants because we know our clients are going to come to our bakery. So we will keep a restricted menu, but we will bulk the menu, in the sense we will do it in more volumes. We will do in multiple batches. Let us say we want to do just in a bakery, the plum cake and the fresh cream cake is moving higher. We will do that in large volumes and we will stack it up. Instead of doing 200 SKU, each 10, 10, 10, 10, that will consume a lot of time and effort. Instead that, remove last 10 low selling products. Let's not waste time in that. Instead of that, hike the volume of making the top 10 products or top 20 product. We can definitely ration your number of product. நீங்க அந்த பொருளெல்லாம் வந்து எல்லா பொருளையும் வந்து கம்மி பண்ணிட்டு டாப் 20 நல்லா மூவ் ஆகுற பொருளை மட்டும் நிறைய வால்யூம்ல பண்ணி ஸ்டாக் பண்ணுங்க. Especially if you can do some dry cakes. Dry cakes have a better lifespan. Sometimes you select the number of product which is having a better lifespan and you do it 1 or 2 days before, so that that stays for at least a week time, so that எதுவுமே இல்லன்றதுக்கு இதையாவது வாங்கிட்டு போவாங்க, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சிச்சுவேஷன் வரும். So you should plan different types of product. Fresh products being made on the same day, being sold on the same day. Then there should be some set of product being made on a day and it stays for a week. And you add more value added product so that you cut down the least selling product. If say for example, normally ungaloda bakery la vandu you normally keep 20 types of cakes and 20 types of pastries, 20 types of cookies and things like blah blah blah. நீங்க நிறைய வச்சிருப்பீங்க. You cut down all those things. You keep a very restricted rationed menu, especially you call it a Christmas menu and you call it a rationed menu or Christmas menu, whatever it is, so that you sell the most selling product in bigger volume rather than wasting time in preparing the least selling product and wasting your manpower and time and creating and stacking. It will move. இல்லன்னு சொல்ல, அது இல்லாட்டினாலும் நல்லா மூவ் ஆகிற ப்ராடக்ட் நல்லாவே மூவ் ஆகும். That is my strategy. Why do cakes and cupcakes sink in the middle sometime? Yes, cakes and cupcakes sinking in the middle அப்படின்னா there is a lot of reasons. Obviously underbaked. So best way na cupcakes நீங்க போடும்போது when you are going to fill the cupcakes, what you have to do is you don't heap the cupcake just like that. You create a crater in the center of the cupcake so that when it is hyped, it is not uncooked in the center, and the raising is also smooth and there is a smooth concave effect. That is one thing. And the center needs more cooking time and heat because the outer cooks first, the heat entering into the cupcakes taking longer time. In the மாதிரி situation இருந்ததுன்னா definitely it means that you have to lower your temperature. My personal strategy நான் சொல்றேன், ஒரு பேசிக்கான pound cake 1:1:1:1. It means 500 gram flour, 500 gram egg, 500 gram sugar and 500 gram of fat. The basic pound cake or whatever the recipe is. இதுக்கு வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா கொஞ்சமா நீங்க flour எக்ஸ்ட்ராவா ஆட் பண்ணீங்கன்னா this problem could be resolved a little bit. That is one way. And 160 degree is my personal baking time for cupcakes. That is a very lower temperature compared to other cakes. But lower temperature la konjam prolonged time kudukumbodhu the heat penetration is better and the outer coloring is also lessened a little bit. So that is one strategy that I would suggest you to follow. And especially the fat, enna mari fat use pandreenga, that really matters. If you are using butter and things like that, definitely you need to reduce a little bit of fat, butter, and you can add a little bit of margarine to it. That is one way to think about. Or you still reduce the butter, add increase sugar, increase flour, and increase, you don't have to increase these two. If you increase, and that will get balance. Let's say or 475 gram, or let's say 475 gram of butter, you can use 500 gram of flour and 500 gram of sugar, and you add a little bit of moisture, milk or some water to it, so that there is a little more moisture, and the egg remains the same in the recipe, or even you can reduce the egg by one egg or 2 eggs or something like that. Okay, I'm using cold pressed coconut. Okay, coconut oil, obviously the density of the coconut oil, the nature of the coconut oil is very, very less. So you have to use the sugar batter method. Sugar batter method. It means you have to cream 33 grams of sugar with 33 grams of flour and 1 egg to get the best finishing. And you can use only little bit of coconut oil to it, maybe just 5 ml of coconut oil to it. So it becomes a sponge recipe, not a pound cake recipe. So you make a sponge recipe with a little bit of coconut oil, even over 1 kg of sugar with 1 kg of flour with a little bit of cake gel add panna, that adds more support to your flour. If you're not willing to add cake gel, it is fine. You increase the flour a little bit of, but coconut oil, we cannot use a lot of coconut oil. You can use only lesser coconut oil, and you have to use the sponge sugar batter method recipe, not the fat batter method. Muffins, cupcakes, normally the fat batter method, where fat is being creamed with sugar, and then egg is added, then it is emulsified, and the flour is added and folded. Please don't follow that recipe when you are using oil like coconut oil. You have to use the sugar batter method, where sugar and egg is whipped very nicely until it is fluffy and it is holding. You fold in the flour at the end and coconut oil in the end with some flavoring and some baking powder, and you bake it. That recipe will suit for you. And okay, that is also again eggless recipe. Oh, that is a lot of filter for that. Okay, fine. So when it is an eggless recipe, the best way, my recipe, I would sometimes start with things like condensed milk. I cream together fat, but the fat can be much lesser to the recipe. Let us say if I'm using 400 ml of condensed milk, I would use, if it is a coconut oil, I would use only 100 or 150 ml of coconut oil, and then I would whip it nicely, or I would try to aerate it with definitely some yogurt and definitely baking soda instead of a lot of baking powder. Of course, baking powder is required, but baking powder, definitely we need an acid, strong acids like citric acid or lactic acid in the form of the yogurt, and then you fold in the flour. When you are folding in the flour, there is one more last unconventional technique I follow. I will brush the final batter in my palm, I mean in my wrist. Your body temperature will melt the fat, and you see a translucent opaque layer. If it is opaque, it means your recipe is consistent and it has the strength to hold while baking. If it is way too thin and way too melting and way too clean like water, it means you have used a lot of fat and there is less flour. You have to add a little more flour to it. All you have to try is add more flour, cut down the fat. That's the basic thing. And I think that should really work, and we should definitely bake it in a very, very low temperature, cool oven like 155 or 160 degree for a prolonged time. Maybe you can give a small pan lined on top, I mean butter paper lined on top, so that the top doesn't get seriously colored while baking. That is one way to go about. Yes. Next, anything else?
Yes, sir. One last question.
Yes, please.
And this question is from Coimbatore.
Mm-hmm.
So he runs a bakery,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the owner of the bakery, and he has around 7 to 8 employees,
Okay.
7 to 8 staffs
Mm-hmm.
for the complete bakery.
Mm-hmm.
And he is asking whether during this season time
Mm-hmm.
we should work on volume or we should work on profit. And at the same time, he
Mhm.
also wants to know that if we are working on the volume,
Mm-hmm.
we should increase the staff for time being, or we can retain the same staff, and we can do the business.
See, as being a chef, the opinion என்னன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, if you are calling temporary staff, you hardly pay them per day wage, like 1,000 rupees, or maximum if he is the best chef you are calling, I mean, at least to that standard or whatever standard, maybe 2,000 rupees. If you are calling him for 5 days, you pay him 10,000 rupees. It also depends. When it is a 7 employee and if he's having a good business, they have to call 1 or 2 extra staff if he feels really avangaloda staff the overload agudhu. If he is feeling it is being overloaded, then definitely extra staff call pandrathu thappilla. This is one thing that he can follow. Another thing, they can definitely, when they can produce some product in bigger volume, the profit will also be bigger. That is also there. That is one way. Definitely it is straight away proportionate. And we can also do another strategy by reducing your profit margin a little bit, or you can give a special price for the Christmas season and the New Year season, or you can do the something. But some places they say, if I'm reducing today, every time they will ask, okay, forget it. Or you can give some complimentary stuff for that particular season. If they buy a cake, maybe you give them a small jar of cookies or whatever it is. And the mari edavadhu panikalam. But my suggestion, New Year, Christmas, Diwali, whenever they feel pressurized, obviously, every year, if you feel that you are having a better business, way beyond முன்னாடியே அவங்க அந்த பேக்கரி ஸ்டாஃப் கிட்டே சொல்லி வச்சிடலாம். லைக், உனக்கு தெரிஞ்ச ஃப்ரெண்டை நீ கூட்டு வாப்பா, உனக்கு தெரிஞ்ச ஆள்கிட்ட நீங்க முன்னாடியே சொல்லி வை. 6 மாசத்துக்கு முன்னாடியே 3 மாசத்துக்கு முன்னாடியே சொல்லி வைக்கிறவங்க எல்லாம் இருக்காங்க. சீசனுக்கு மட்டும் எனக்கு ஒரு 2 பேர் என்கிட்டயே நிறைய பேர் கேட்டிருக்காங்க. சில நேரத்துல ஐ கேன் சப்போர்ட், சில நேரத்துல ஐ கேனாட். சீசனுக்கு மட்டும் யாராவது ஒருத்தரை கொடுங்க, 2 பேரை கொடுங்க. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு அவங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச ஸ்டாஃப் கிட்ட சொல்லும் போது ஈவன் தே வில் கால். அதாவது ஒர்க்ல இருக்கிறவங்கள கூப்பிட முடியாது. Probably if they are working in some other bakery, we cannot call them. But if they are not working in some other bakery, definitely those lean extra staffs who are trying for a new job, probably they can come in and support the ongoing bakery process during the season time alone. Definitely no wonder. If your sale, say for example, if you are adding 2 employees, obviously they can make definitely per day or 20,000 to 30,000 worth of goods. Nothing wrong in paying them 1,000, 2,000 rupees per day. It is okay. It is okay to call. That is the best way to go about. I think adana or mean பண்றாருன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Please ask him if it is right or wrong. Okay, anyway. Anything else?
So the Zaram Bakers
Okay.
question.
Emmer wheat for breads and cakes. Okay, I'm not sure. நான் தெரிஞ்சது தெரியுதுன்னு சொல்றேன், தெரியல. Emmer wheat, I don't get it, whether if it is a brand or if it is a kind of a wheat. I didn't understand that questions. Could you please be a little more clear? Is it a type of wheat for bread and cake, or if it is a kind of a special species of wheat or something like that? Could you be more specific? Because I have no idea, honestly. Okay, type of wheat. Sorry, I have not used. Being a commercial bakery chef, I'm not so used to very tedious ingredient and romba kashtapattu or product. Being a commercial chef, we use the easily available ingredient. We use the best product possible. As a chef, we are more concerned with the presentation and the taste of the product. Sorry to say, sometime வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா அதோட inert nutritive values சில நேரத்துல நாங்க கவனிக்க மிஸ் பண்ணிடுறோம். Being a chef, it is a natural process for us, because at the end the sale matters, at the end the commercial business matters and சொல்லிட்டு. But it is nice to see a lot of home bakers and people taking time to collect very high value ingredients like this and process that into a better product to cater to their clients. It's nice of you. If you have no more information on that, please share it to me, because I have no idea about that particular wheat product. I use the commercial flours to produce commercial products. We sell on a commercial large volume, because at the end பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய வால்யூம் தான் மேட்டரா இருக்காங்க. பிகாஸ் நிறைய வால்யூமா இருக்கிற பிசினஸ் தான் வந்து ஒரு பேக்கரியை வந்து சஸ்டைன் பண்ண வைக்குது. ரொம்ப டீடியஸான ப்ராடக்ட் போச்சுன்னா எங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் அது கஷ்டமா இருக்கு. ஓகே, ஹோல் வீட் ஃப்ளார் ஃபார் மை பேக்ஸ். ஓ, ஃபேண்டாஸ்டிக். I think that Mr. or Mrs. Could I have your name, please? Sorry. They are using. They say that they use whole wheat flour for their bakery product. Yes, I've seen n number of bakers, and I've also created a lot of bakery that use purely organic flours and organic products completely without any preservative, without any added colors, without any. And there is also Miss Manju here. She has got a wonderful range of chocolate that has such high values. Yes, I see a lot of people with interesting ingredient selection and refined flour. Fantastic, fantastic. I think we should get more information from Ms. Vishnu Priya. She has a wonderful bakery with a lot of whole wheat ingredients, I believe. That's fantastic. Ragaram, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, cool. Anything commercial to make money, you ask me, I can definitely support you a lot. Of course, you have your own client database that needs personalized service. Like if you're very specific on your ingredient and very specific on your product, very interesting ana, ரொம்ப complicated and சொல்ல வரல, high value ingredient, and obviously உங்களுக்கு raw material cost will go high. Obviously, you need to pitch it that way. At the same time, you're trying to cater a niche client profile, because these days at the end வந்து sometime வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா there is a challenge that people believe bakery product நாலே சரியில்லை அப்படின்ற ஒரு thought process போயிடுறாங்க. It is nice that some people are adding more value to the bakery product and things like that. I appreciate all those people who put a lot of value to their bakery products. Thank you for supporting bakery industry, and I would like to support more. Thank you. Anything else to hear?
Sir, thanks a lot for your valuable time, and we just want to take more 5 minutes from you.
Yes, please, please. Not a problem.
So there is a question. Like during this session, like season, we are having many orders, and we have good staffs, and even we put more staffs inside to make good market, good business. During this time, we are missing some safety, like food safety during the seasoning times. So how to overcome that? It is a very big challenge to have like a monitor on that. So is there any ways to overcome that food safety during this peak season? Because we'll be in a hurry rush, we need to give the orders, we need to deliver the orders, and in that matter we are losing food safety, and we are getting one or two feedbacks from our customer. So how to overcome this?
Okay, cool. Okay, food safety challenge. When you will get a food safety challenge, point blank சொல்லணும் அப்படின்னா, if at all we cannot follow the food safety standard only for the season. It means that your bakery has to follow the standards throughout. It doesn't matter if it is a New Year season time or if it is a normal time and things like that. There has to be some set standard that your bakery must possess by default, immaterial if it is busy or not busy. Say for example, or chinna situation solran, the cleanliness of the bakery. Obviously, there has to be a set procedure. The bakery units have to be cleaned probably 2 times or 3 times or 4 times, depending on the usage of the bakery, immaterial what. So when you clean and maintain your bakery, there is a lot of unwanted foreign bodies that is falling on the floor or falling on the table, that will be eradicated on a periodical basis. That is one thing. And one more thing, when you have a set procedure to do a product, let us say you are making a filling for your puff, or you are making some interesting meat filling or a vegetable filling or some kind of a filling for your product. There has to be a set standard. You cannot just make the product or make the filling, lay it on the table or leave it as such, or use it whenever you feel like using it. There has to be a set procedure. When you make the filling, it has to be filled in a tray. It has to be cooled in a set place. It has to be wrapped immediately, or it has to be cooled on a forceful manner using a blast chiller or a freezer or a refrigerator in some way, so that the temperature is being cut down, because we need to maintain the temperature. Food safety, when it comes to food safety, there is a lot of issues that we can get. It can be chemical poisoning or food poisoning because of biological poisoning, or foreign body ingestion into the food, or the environmental hazards. A lot of things have to be taken into consideration. So if your bakery or if your production unit or whatever kitchen you have to follow some standard from the beginning, which has to be foolproof even during the very stringent and heavy, working hours of these kinds and these times and things like that. Apart from this, each and every staff have to be well educated with all these issues. He should be well educated or well trained to eradicate these kind of hazardous situations. They have to be informed with what kind of problems that we can get during food production process. So they have to be constantly trained, at least once in 2 months or once in 3 months. You call some professional and train them so that they are well aware of the situation. Or at least during the Christmas or high season, at least during this time, you call some professions like that and give them a training, or where could be the problems could arise. Or you can call some professional, ask them to do a physical audit in your production area, so that they can point out the places where there could be hazards that could be created during busy or peak hour situation. So that can be eliminated by before. More like a precaution is better than cure. That can also be followed. Definitely, staff has to have the knowledge of food safety. Each and every staff has to have the knowledge of food safety. Otherwise, there is one more strategy. You have to have your supervisors who have to be well educated about the situation. Bigger units I've seen, okay, they will have quality controllers, there will be F&B controllers, there'll be people who, or at least they will have even missionaries which does the process and things like that. So food safety is very, very important. It is a good question that you have asked. So obviously, as of now, the best way is to either train the staff, train your supervisor, create an audit before your season, or constantly give a training for your kitchen staff. They should have knowledge on all kind of hazards that could arise inside a kitchen, so that they at least do a prevention during the busy hours or peak hours. That's the best way to go about.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much for your valuable time. And I think all the participants here have asked your questions and made a clear picture now how to run your bakery. So we wish more sessions coming up through TiE Chennai, and we'll be connected together. Always we will bring more and more knowledge sharing, and from as a very good chef, we'll be having more sessions, and we will share his knowledge to all. So Merry Christmas to all and a Happy New Year. So we'll be connecting very shortly, and it will be announced in the WhatsApp groups. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Vishwa and the team.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's been a very informative session, and I think right time, because we are all going through
Exactly.
a busy season. Thank you for having this session.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you all. Thank you for the time, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to everyone.
Yes. And any personal questions, you can connect with me, as I have just given my number. And somebody has asked some questions. That's a bigger question to start a bakery shop. They have to be present in our TiE group for some time, so that they learn a lot of input, so that they can start a bakery shop. That's the answer for that particular question from that gentleman. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye. Great day.